What if I was to invite you up onto this stage right now? No planning, no preparation, just a chance for you to share your words with this audience. Would you be that person who's going, me, let me on the stage, and people having to hold you back? Or are you that person who is now avoiding eye contact? Your heart rate quickening, a little bead of sweat just running down your back. Because this is one of those moments which is like a sliding door moment where you get the chance to either grasp the opportunity or not. But for those of you who are worried, I am keeping the stage for the moment. You can have it another time. We all have this view of what public speakers are like. We think they are these aggressively extroverted individuals who've got this natural ability to stand on stage and keep you all entertained. I can tell you that's not true. Public speakers are no different to you and I. It's just they've done the work. But the thing is that there's this myth which persists that public speaking is scarier than death, and that people would rather be in the casket, dead, than saying absolutely beautiful things about the deceased. I'll tell you now, it is nerve-wracking being up here. I've been worried about this for weeks, and I'm sure our other speakers have as well. But I'll tell you now that death is scarier. And in past lives, I have seen death in some of my careers in the past. Which is really good news for all of you because it means that you can learn the skills of public speaking. That is a really good thing. Now, this is a really good time for you to think about how you can share your voice. We've already heard tonight about AI. I love AI. AI is wonderful. It is not going anywhere. It infuses absolutely everything, from the little apps on your smartphone right the way through to radical reworking of entire industries. We cannot go back to a time before AI. We have to move forward with it. And it's changed everything in exactly the same way the internet did. Now, I love AI. I love taking images and just changing them. I use AI every day, and I think it's wonderful. I even get it to write haikus about hobbits, which is just genius, and to find out where the best burger in Birmingham is. It's amazing. But the best thing about AI is it gives you the gift of time. It allows you to be more human. It allows you to spend time doing the things that you love with the people that you love even more. But we're humans, and humans never accept that invitation. Instead, we get all this space, and what do? We decide to be more productive. We decide to hustle more. We make more money, because that's exactly what we do. But AI can't do very particular things. It can't do this. It can't look someone in the eye in an audience. It can't do human-to-human connection. It can't feel the rapport and the energy in the room that you've all had with the speakers this evening. AI cannot do any of that. And I tell you what it can't do, it can't hug. Yet. Now you might be thinking, Dave, I have no desire to learn any kind of skills to stand on a stage. That just makes me want to wear my brown trousers. And that's okay, because I've got you. Learning how to speak in public isn't just about speaking on stages like this. It's about the conversations you have with yourself. It's about the conversations you have with the people around you. And it is as much about being present and listening as it is about speaking. I was 12 years old when I first spoke on a stage. It wasn't glamorous like this. We didn't have goodie bags. I was at middle school, and I had signed up to do the English Speaking Board exam, which tells you everything that you need to know about me as a 12-year-old. I was an absolute nerd. I don't know if anyone of you have done the English Speaking Board exams before, but there's a load of different disciplines to it, like poetry reading and doing a monologue. I can't remember the poem I read, but I can remember that I did a monologue about the Eiffel Tower. I memorised how high it was. I memorised the year it was built. I even knew it was in Paris. How good's that? I knew how many girders put it together and how many little rivets put it all together, because I was a nerd. And I rehearsed, and I rehearsed, and I rehearsed, and I even used techniques that I use today with myself and with my clients. And I did pass, thanks for asking. But I didn't get the grade that I wanted to, and there's a very good reason for that. I'd actually broken my arm that morning at school, but I hadn't noticed. which tells you that I was a nerd with a very poor attention span. And it was only when my teacher spotted me and she said, I think there's something wrong with your arm. And I was like, why? Because it was dangling by my side, not being used, and I had a pale face. She ruled out a stroke very quickly, called my mom, off to hospital we went, it was all good. You know when you have people go on stage, you give them some good wishes, like you tell them to break a leg? There's no requirement for you to break a limb when you come and speak on stage and learn these skills. There's not even a requirement to start as a teenager. But there is a requirement that if you want to do it, that you start and you do it with intention. It's 40 years since I did that English speaking board exam. And yes, I know I don't look that old. Really good skincare routine. 40 years. And in that time in my career as an A&E nurse and a podiatrist working in healthcare, I've learned a fair amount about communication and speaking. And tonight, I would love to share that with you. But I'm not going to talk about technique, about the way you hold your hands, the way you move on stage. I'm going to talk to you about something which is far more important. And that is starting with you. And there's a word we use for this, and this is the first word I'm going to tell you, and I need to just ground myself for a moment, because this word does sometimes put me off guard and makes me feel a bit ill. Bear with me. We're almost there. Okay. Authenticity. Oh, that word chills me to my bone. It is the most overused word. I'm sure it was the word of the year in 2024. And when people turn around to you and say, just be yourself, oh my God, that is such a useless piece of information. It's a useless question. And the thing is, none of us really know who we are because most people haven't taken the time to do the work. Authenticity is about understanding your values and your character and then how you take it to the world. 2018, I stood on a stage and I shared something which I had never shared with anyone else. I talked about living with anger. About 3 years before, my ex-wife had thrown me out of the house for very good reason, because I was a twat. And I was an angry twat, and she'd had enough of me breaking things, being angry, scaring the kids. And it was the best thing she could have ever done. Because in that moment, I had to look at me and I had to understand who I was and who I wanted to be. And in 2018, I stood on a stage and I told the audience about that. It's cheaper than therapy, maybe not as effective. But I talked about what it was like to live with anger and have that as the emotion which was always there just to grab and pull in, and how I communicated with the world with it all the time, and what it did to the people around me, and what I'd done to help with it. And I told the story of how I'd found this gap between stimulus and response. And even for a big bloke from Birmingham like me, you could crawl in and open, and the world opened up to you. Standing on that stage and talking about those things feels very risky. Like everyone's going to disown you. That this lovely bloke that they thought you were suddenly isn't. He's angry. Spoiler alert is you know that that didn't happen, because it never does. What happened is people came up to me afterwards and said, thank you. Thank you for sharing about that. Thank you for being so vulnerable. And then they told me their stories. They told me their stories of how they'd been angry, and they told me the stories of their partners and their friends. And over the last few years, it's been an absolute honour to be able to share those stories, to be able to get better at telling them so I can help more people. But it has required me to do the work. It's required me to take that time to go to therapy. It's taken that time to be open and honest about who I am. And I'm not saying that if you've got anything you want to share, that you have to share your deepest, darkest secrets. Because most of you have things which nobody should ever know about, especially you. But if you are going to talk from a place of authenticity and do it with intention, you have to do the work. And developing these skills in public speaking really helps with that. Second thing is connection. Cast your minds back about 6 years. There was something happened in the world. It was kind of niche. You might not know about it. It's called lockdown. Anyone there? Yeah? I think we're only really realising now what lockdown did for us, and it wasn't particularly good. Computers are great. We had Zoom. It was wonderful. We got to connect with people. But now we're really craving this human connection. Things like this. 2026, we're going to see people going out more, which is brilliant. We've been craving that connectedness which we haven't had for so long. Last year, I went to see a client of mine speak on stage, and I always go and see my clients speak if I can, because I love to see the work we do show up in this kind of environment. And also, I like to be the audience members that I like in my audience. And she was brilliant. She started off talking about a subject which is really passionate to her heart. And halfway through, she had that thing happen which speakers hope never happens. She lost her way. Oh, speakers hate that. A mind monkey pops up from somewhere. Something happens, and it's usually the audience. Well, you suddenly think, have I left the oven on? But she handled it like a pro. She stopped, she paused, she took a breath. She looked at the audience and she reached out, she grabbed a word. It was a beautiful word. She pulled it closer. It wasn't the right word. She put it back again. She reached out again, she grabbed another word, she pulled it closer. This was a really good word. Wasn't the right one, put it back again. And then she reached out and grabbed the next word. And then she delivered the rest of her speech and got a round of applause at the end, which was absolutely deserved. How would you feel speaking in front of an audience and then losing your way? When you want to deliver something which is absolutely perfect and you don't, how must that feel? We chatted afterwards and I tried to explain to her that everything was okay. But you know that those times people have just got to sit in that really spicy crap moment and feel sorry for themselves. But I told her that out of all the speakers on the day, she was the one who connected the most with her audience. And the reason was the audience had seen her. That moment of struggle and failure and loss and not having the words, people saw themselves. We don't connect with perfection. Social media will tell you you've got to look beautiful and wonderful, but we don't connect with that. We connect with the imperfection, because everything we do on a day-to-day basis is full of imperfection. And that is where the connection is. And when you develop those skills around speaking, you have to be okay with imperfection. Because while you can't exactly polish this, you can roll it in glitter. But that will cost you extra. Come and see me afterwards. The third thing which developing your speaking skills does is opportunity. 2017, a friend of mine asked me if I would host his conference. 3 weeks from the conference. I said yes before I had the chance to say no and talk myself out of it. And I went ahead and did the conference, and it was brilliant. It was in the podiatry industry, which is my industry, and it was great to be around people and be able to introduce people on stage. Saying yes to that opportunity got me the chance to host a conference 2 years later with 1,000 people in the audience. And that was the day I wore my brown trousers. But it was amazing. Taking that opportunity made a huge difference. There was a point where I asked myself a question. Can I be intentionally funny? Because I think I'm funny in conversation. You have a chat with me outside, I'm pretty funny. I'll try and make a joke, bit mischievous, bit cheeky. But can I string a group of words together in a way which is going to make you laugh? The answer is it depends, and not tonight. But taking that opportunity to do comedy really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And that led to me being really cheeky and asking a local venue if we could have a comedy night at their place. And they said yes. So 2 years ago, I became a comedy host. I don't know how that happened. There's so many opportunities out there which we can say yes to. And I tell you now, I have said yes to things when I probably should have said no. And I've said yes to things which have made parts of my anatomy quiver in ways I'm not even going to describe. But those opportunities and those experiences have been there for the making and the taking. Just think for a moment. How many of you have not taken opportunities that you should have done? When someone asked you to do something, the word which came out of your mouth was no, not yes. And I'm not saying that if you decide to take these opportunities, it's going to change the world. But I can tell you now, if you say yes to 1% more things, it will change your world. It's that chance to be seen, heard, and validated, that 1% which ripples, which compounds, which builds. Look, I'm really lucky to be able to stand up here and do what I do. I love my job. It's one of the best jobs in the world. But I know that there's some people out there who are not as lucky as me. Women don't get opportunities. People of colour don't get opportunities. People with disabilities don't get opportunities. And there's so many things in the world which hold us back, which are out of our control. Patriarchy, capitalism, tradition, pulling on us with these invisible threads like a puppeteer. And then, what about the things which are a bit closer? Imposter syndrome, fear of failure, fear of being seen. God, what if people see you? Developing these skills helps you to see those opportunities, make those opportunities, and take them. It is a really powerful thing. 3 things I've spoken to you about so far: authenticity, connection, opportunity. Unfortunately, they don't have a really good acronym for you to take home. Sorry. But they are a really good example of a tricolon or a rule of 3. And if you know, you know. The world is waiting for you to go out there and share your words. Every one of you has an idea, a thought, something which you could go out which is going to change the lives of someone. Perhaps it will help them to solve a problem. Perhaps it will give them a different direction to move in life. Or perhaps it will help them to feel that they are not alone. These ideas which all of you have, I'm going to say this now and it's going to sound brutal, but if you're not going out and there and sharing them, that is positively criminal. There are people in the world who have gone before you, who have used their voices to change the status quo, to challenge people, and those are the shoulders that we sit on today. Why not follow in their footsteps? But as we come to the end of my time with you, so you can all go home and enjoy your lives, I'm going to leave you with a couple of ideas. We're at a really interesting place where developing public speaking skills can help you to speak better to yourself, it can help you speak better to the people around you, it can help you speak better to the world. And if you have this little feeling, this bubbling up inside you, this itchiness, this feeling that you want to go out there and share your words with the world, or perhaps you're now wishing that I'd invite you up onto this stage to speak to this audience. If you feel any of those, then that is the power of public speaking. Thank you.